Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Sir Stephen Topham at the third at your service. Now we're going to be talking about 1,000 years because Henry has been talking to me quite a lot. All right, a lot of people, as I said in my last podcast, dead, dead, dead people not funny. Right? It isn't truly not funny because a lot of people can understand what's meant to unfold naturally, yes, but I did state the Iron Swan song is becoming a swan song because it's changing. Yes, it is unfolding correctly to a point, but it's been 1,000 years since we've done this the last time, and then the last time, and the last time. It's been repeating all the time, and people can't pick up on it because our actions, the sequences, the consequences, etc. And we need to get this right this time round. You know, a lot of people know now more than anything because family comes back to family all the time, right? I got to consider of my fourth and fifth generation of the Hatt family, but it's not going to come out of thin air. That's for starters, right? There's a lot of mistakes happened over the years, over the times, over the places, every place, even the steel works, even all that shebang. And I said, yeah, well, it's time to grow up. Right? It's all added, it's all coming in. The light is shined on you. Right? You have to realize that Iron Swan song is Swan song now, more than it is the other way round. Right? The thing is, Richard will come into power. So would Emily Helen Hart. But you have to let it naturally unfold, which is true. I can't argue with my own flesh and blood. Right? Which is true. They exclude Duck out of the picture because he's not part of it. Right? Sometimes my support angels can only support so much knowledge. Right? The hats can double it because we can calculate quicker. We know what needs to unfold naturally. Right? Private connections have been telling me this from day one. But when you're at college and school, yes, you have to be careful as you grow up. Right? A lot of people who I knew from school, from my Knapford school, and then Orsted School, then college is on top at Vickerstown, and then it goes back to Orsted College as well on top. They all start to pick up the pieces themselves, just gently. No arguments, no debates, or no disputes. The only thing is, it's just unfolded in a very funny, usually it'd be funny to a point, but it's realistic when you see it, right? A lot of people now know the truth. I don't want you to go through this Island Swan song. I need you to go through the Swan song, which is a different department, which is true. But I'm explaining it in the way you understand it to a very high degree. And maybe hard working to a point, but at least it's all coming out to light. Right? You got me, you got Xena, that's it. We need to get hooked up again to get everything back on track. You know, I know a lot of you may be thinking in your head, what happens if this doesn't work? Then we all screwed. I'm not screwing this up. Big time. This is not my fault. Right? That's strike one. Number two, it was playing out for Swan Song mode, not the Island Swan Song. Because somebody was stupid on the island to do certain things, right? I'm fixing the timeline, as my private connection stated. But you won't listen, you won't listen, and you won't listen. Now it's all coming back in your face. Now you're starting to wake up, right? I understand pressure is key here, right? But because of my physical well-being and my disabilities, my don't mean to put that in perspective. There's so much I can only do before I have to do what needs to be done. You know what I mean? It's like a jigsaw puzzle piece that I have to be very, very careful of. Right? A lot of people know it's me and Xena. That's it. Right? You got that piece in your heads. Right? I don't need to explain it anymore because distant cousins have to marry each other to reboot the magic. That's that. I don't want to rephrase that story over and over again. but it's been happening so many times that people forgot. This is why the 30-year gap has always been shit, what's happened. You see, the ancestors that are no longer alive, dead people, not funny, but it gets real to a point. You know, when dead people don't talk to you or understand what you're doing, right? I have a private connection who who my mother has met up, right? Initially, right? To try and explain what's going to happen in the future, and it unfolds naturally as it does. My mother's lost that memory, right? My real father's got the same problem, right? Then my great uncle Donald has got a bigger major problem in his head. He can't remember anything now, right? So work it out. My family tree itself, on paper, as as well as the connections and my friends and my family, they all connect. Why? Because they know what's meant to unfold, they know what to do, they know what the key element is, right? I'm only just breaking this all down so you don't fuck up, right? We know what was meant to unfold. We know, right? When I took an oath to when I got on the railway in 2001. This is after I was a child and I was safeguarded by my grandfather, set up on that the first. Then it became business, right? Timeline needed to be fixed in the railway, right? When it was happening in 2001, what did you expect? Sir Topham Hatt the Third comes onto the platform, right? At that time, a lot of people knew me as my anagram name for safeguard the other name. But it's actually reversed because we have to. Why? Because when they see Matthew, they see Hat. And when they see Stephen, bing ding, reverse it. Then you got Topham, then put that in the middle. Slap, bang. Right? That's that problem solved. Right? You got that. You got the Iron Sodor. Now, just look how it's unfolded so far. Right? People have to realize I'm not a liar. I'm a well respected individual to a very high degree. People know about this to the bottom, right? I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to put words in my mouth, but my words are coming out with truth. I need them fresh from my head to give to you. Right? I'm not going to argue with the bush. The swan song is actually happening, not the Iron Swan song. So it's continuing from my son, who I'm not met yet, and my granddaughter. That's it. End of the day, you got to grow up. You know, in the day, it's all playing out correctly. It's how it unfolds in front of you, right? We don't want no disappointments anymore. We don't need this Island Swan song down our throats because it makes it 10 times difficult on me. My back is getting sore. My my let's say my personal health in general, right? People starting to see it and realize it's slowly unfolding in front of you, right? I'm not Diesel 10, that's for sure, right? Everybody that knows Diesel 10, right, watch out, because it's not me, right? I've been honest, I've been trustworthy, I've been kind, I've been helpful, I've been trustworthy, you know, respectful, and all of that. You get the honesty on top. Yeah, any when you built on that foundation, you guaranteed to gain respect. But it takes a little while. For a lot of people out there that probably saying there are things unfolding in natural course, but you have to realise it's slowly doing it. We're not rushing it. That's the start. That's number one, right? When I was talking to Mr. C and C Junior, right, so long ago, right, and certain other people we know privately, we know things. We're not running it. We're not rushing ahead of it. We're progressing forward. But when Henry stated it happened 1,000 years ago and it's still progressing forward, 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 that's it. It all adds up. But a lot of things is you got to let it unfold naturally, yes, from the Iron Swan song to Swan song. That's what's transferring now. Why? Because I recorrected most of the timeline. So when the Norfolk Americans think they get away with it, no, they haven't. Why? That's strike one on their part. Two, their boss's hair. Three, they can't do nothing about it because they have to let it unfold naturally. But in the day, you got me, you got the lady hat, that's the end of it. Right? But it's just that in the day, you got to really understand. My family has returned to me for obvious reasons. But it takes a while to understand what is in your mind when you sit down and think about it a little bit clear headed, like always, like any other individual would. They start to pick up on things like this. People that can't say it out loud because they are witnessing it, they're observing it, they're not intervening, they're just letting it play out. Yes, of course, there's a few boom booms on the line. Right? I get that. But in the day, when it unfolds in front of you, then you're not laughing. Why? Because you thought, well, why? Like I stated in the last podcast, that Caitlin and her daughter said Stephen Topham Hatt is famous. That's the fact. That's no lie. That's quotatively coming out of her mouth. Why? I'm just repeating that if you have totally forgotten about it. But it's all realistic. You're not going to lose anything. You just have to play it out correctly for us. My back cannot cope with the Iron Swan song. Right? That's guaranteed. Right? If I've gone through the Iron Swan song, it will kill me. It will hurt me. It will not disrespect me, but it just be a lot harder on me. Because my back will be just killing, killing, killing. Then my personal health will go down with it. Right? Which we don't want. Because it shows me that I'm there for Emily Helen Hatt on the line. So she's on the line, but she's not here. Not even Richard yet. So work it out. It's all there in black and white. While the rest won't lie to you, of course he had to lie about the dates and the years, but I'm telling you the truth behind his story as well. This is the add-on after season 24, but this has happened in since 2001 to 2024 because you have to add 24 years ago, 2004 is when the beginning part happened. Ding ding. Then you add 24 or 20 years ahead. Then it goes boom boom. Then it's there in black and white. Then it becomes 2024. Right? In the day, it's all true, it's all facts, and it's all logic. It's all happening the way it would. The Iron Swan song is dying out to Swan song. So it's able to connect the last piece in the middle. Right? So I will have Richard and Emily Helen Hatt. Right? But it's not happened yet. In the end of the day, what a lot of people do, they rush a lot of things which they haven't done. Or they probably have and they screwed up. Right? There are a lot of things unfolded in truth. Right? I know it's a bit difficult for one lot of people to absorb in one day. You could just watch all of these podcasts and it will add up. And it will eventually click, click, click. Why? Because people understand things now. You got the Coopers reuniting, yes, and getting married. Obviously not yet, but it's getting to that point. But then you got to realise, look at me, right? And look at Cena, and look at the landlady's face. We're both nearly similarly identical. Why is that? Distant cousins, wife and husband. That's no lie. That's no deceit in it, right? I get your point that you're a little bit angry or frustrated or a bit annoyed or that, but it's all happening all in truth. But people have to understand this is not a game. already lost connections, friends, and family because the story was playing out in truth. It wasn't lying to you. It's just that when you're a child, you have to be safeguarded by family. It's not a game. When I actually cry in front of the camera for you, I mean it, right? I'm being honest with you. My my mother didn't have the luxury. She did not know this knowledge at all. Safeguard was on. Why? Because her father was in charge. Ding ding. Right? When it came to Margaret, it was Lily. Ding ding. Goes back to the Cooper bloodline. Why? Because it has to be mother and daughter, father and daughter. Separate. Why? Because what happened is Margaret and my mother are cousins. That's why. Which enables us to understand our family trees a lot quicker. But I warned you from the very beginning. When Henry stated it was 1,000 years, it wasn't initially 1,000 years. It's a cover up to cover the family tree line up to safeguard my mother and Margaret. But when the time is ticking, you don't have the luxury then. You can play video games, go out and do whatever you want as a kid. Yeah, that's fine. But as you get older, then you've got to get serious and then you've got to put your foot down on everything. It's not a game anymore. To everybody else's eyes, it's like saying, my family was there for me all the time. People can laugh, they can joke about it, and they say, oh, that's a joke, that's a lie, deceit, boom, boom, boom. I said, no, it isn't. It never has been. When people want something bad enough, you got what you want or need, but now you've got to let it play out a bit more. You know, when you think about it, my mother and Margaret are cousins, and they know everything that was meant to be unfolding, but they had to learn the hard way because they were safeguarded by my grandfather and my great auntie Lily. I don't lie. I haven't got the ability to lie, but I had to cover my tracks when I was younger. It's not a game to be laughed at when it all goes back to the Coopers, is it? Now, you know, when my Cooper family comes back to me, why do you think I know so many people in Cromer, or Sheringham, or West London, or East London, or Norwich, or Lowestoft, or Great Yarmouth? Why? All bloody Thomas and Root connected. Why? A lot of people didn't realise it had to be in the distance that I could travel. But at the same time, a lot of people know people. Yes, I get that. But in the day, when you think about family and friends and connections, that's all added in, you see. A lot of people make silly mistakes. Sometimes they make good things, get the information they need. I'm putting it all on black and white paper for you. But it's going forward. I've got to go forward. I can't go back with turning the Island Swan song into Swan Song, which enables me to continue my family with no problems. Right? You just have to realise, you know, in the day, the person that safeguards me is a lot more what my mum can do on her own. Right? So let me give you a story that will open your eyes a little bit. I'm sorry, this is all true, no bullshit, no nothing. Right? If you don't like it, tough. Right? It's reality of what's unfolded, right? There was one day that Duck and I and my mother were in the same room together. I will not lie about this, and this is all true. And if you don't like it, tough, because it's reality, right? A lot of people realised that I was epileptic, so was my mother. But Duck got stuck in the middle. He can't support both of us at the same time. So Duck managed to safeguard me. But actually, in the end, 2 minutes later, my mum does a old epileptic scream. That is lady scream. And then she goes, bang! She's out. Wake up! This is reality of what has happened. Things like what the Norfolk County NHS wanted and the NSFT wanted. They wanted to know everything while they're getting it on a plate. But at the same time, when she went out, so did I. So did I. A duck was stuck in the middle, and he couldn't hold a, a, a truck and then another truck as example. Why? Because when I went out, so did she. And I would not scream out so bloody loud like I used to. Why? It's reality, it's fact, and it's logic. It happened in the living room of, of 4 Sandy Lane, right? In Crosby. So when you look upside down, then you're going to wake up and smell the damn coffee, right? It's not a joke, it's not a rumour, and it's not a lie. So a distress call was sent out to all my connections and my family based in London. And they came to me because the distress call was sent out from when I was young to the older age that I am today. Why? I'm maybe 40, but in the day, when you take 20 years of that off, I was basically nearly 14. I think I was 20 when you think of 40, take away that age a bit by 20 years apart, boof. It was 2004, October the 13th, when my grandfather passed away. Then the red flag went up for my family. And my family is now returning to me because they had to get what my grandfather did was basically call out my distant cousin, Zena Morgan, / my wife, my distant cousin and all. Why? Because it's emergency, a family emergency. It was nothing to do with the NHS in any direction. So when I was growing up, I was safeguarded. Yes, I had Victor as well, and it all adds up. So I had Sir Topham Hatt Senior, then Sir Topham Hatt the First, then my father Charles Topham Hatt, then you have me, third generation. Then it all adds up, and it all adds up, and then you end up realizing it's Cooper bloodline at the background. In the end, in the end of the day, you're seeing things that are true, not real, not fiction. Every generation of my family has to do something to recorrect everything. Right? Duck hasn't got the strength like he used to. He's too proudful for his cooking. Right? In the day, Duck is around, yes, the green engine that we all know and love, the Great Western Railway, yes, 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 in every angle, and it adds up. But then, when people want something bad enough, you have to be very patient on this now. Because I'm turning the Island Swan Song into a swan song. Because I live a lot longer than you think. So when I'm monitoring all my physical health, as well as everything, my back included and all, and everything else, people are starting to notice that too. But they can't say it out loud. Right? There's a lot to take in. I get it. But there's a lot of truth to this. Lily sent her own granddaughter to me because she's my distant cousin and my wife. That's it. That's the full picture. But Margaret is still alive as an 88-year-old woman. Why? Because it's my mother's cousin. We haven't forgotten our family. We just haven't been in communication for so bloody long. And because it's a 20-year anniversary of my grandfather's death on my mother's side of the family, it's a calling card now more than anything. Because we are, what you're saying is basically the result that people need. They need Richard Topham Hatt. They need Emily Helen Hatt. And who's able to provide that? Me. So wake up and smell the coffee on this one. It's not a game. It's not a joke. People just have to connect with my family. My family is a vital key in all of this. Why? My safeguards, the Websters, obviously based in Cromer, obviously, I won't give out no names, have been watching us. Then we got dead people, which is the ancestors of our family, watching over us. So everything we do is unfolded in the correct way, not the wrong way. It's hard for a lot of support angels that can't do much no more, right? There's a lot of barriers, a lot of cross. I get it. For for like we said, what Caitlin stated, and and her daughter stated, you are famous, Stephen Topham Hatt the third. Boom boom. Why? Because I'm reality, not fiction. You see, when Audrey wrote the book, he had to do it with all facts, all truth, and all logic, but has to continue where it left off. Gone through the second gen with no problems because the safeguards were up. So when the safeguards were up for the second gen didn't know nothing about it. Then the third gen comes along, they get all the answers they need, which we are providing. Right? We're not bullshitting, we're not BSing, we're straight to the point. Right? So end of the day, when you want something bad enough, why don't you just let it play out naturally and let it roll naturally as it would? All the Albions should fucking know this, excuse my language. But the fact is, Susan, Millie, and the others, besides my distant cousin and wife to be, Zena, obviously, you know, you can't, we have just to wait a little bit longer now. Because people got what they need, but now I'm converting the Island Swan Song into Swan Song because it's going through the chain of command automatically. You know, but people say when you watch the rest of the timeline, obviously, it gives you the right timeline you should be following. It's hard for you as it is hard for me because you've got to follow it through. Right? It adds up. The Island Swan Song was going to be a demise if it doesn't go according to plan. The Iron Swan song was actually the bad storyline you don't want in your bucket. Basically saying you're rewriting history just a little bit to go forward. Right? Me and Xena are going to connect up and I'll basically become her husband because it was uniquely designed to be destined that way. Right? When my mother married Sir Toppenhat, Charles Toppenhat II, he had me birth and he left me and my mother on our own with nothing, near enough. But I, let me give you a trick on this. This is the magic trick that will start you up. Right? When my mother had me, she basically had all the fucking copyrights. Right? All the rights to everything. Books, TV shows, and movies. Right? Which has me and her in it, as well as my safeguard that's safeguarding me now. My wife, my distant cousin, everything. Poof. Then the swan song comes into play in all of this. Why? Because it's going to play out now the way everybody wants to safeguard. Right? That's the ultimate safeguard. Gone up. You can't change it. What's unfolding. Right? The Island Swan song is gone. History. Why? Because I corrected it. The big mistake you want or didn't want, it's not going to happen now. If that happened, we would lose everything. You will lose people. People we respected. The earth wouldn't be the earth we know. It'd be falling apart. Everybody will moan. Everybody will groan. Then the person that's going to come to this island, obviously Norfolk and Suffolk and Cambridgeshire, they will find out what happened to us. Why? I'm not going to have that down the line. Why? Because I'm changing it. I'm recorrecting it before it gets that to that point. Right? Cena knows what needs to go forward. So do I. The problem is, in the day, If people didn't push me too far off the edge or anything like that, everything will fall into place naturally. So Susan, Liz, and Izzy and the others, they're all waking up and smelling the coffee and waking up and realise shit. Well, it is a big shit on you guys because you're just like saying, yeah. So while Zena was trying to safeguard me, I was also trying to safeguard her. There were two reasons for that. A lot of reasons. Family is one, right? Margaret had Margaret had Zena, and my mother had me. So work it out. Distant cousins, wife and husband to be. So it's the truth, it's the logic, and it's respect. If right, let me give you another scenario that could have gone wrong. That would have made the Island Swan song go bang into action if I didn't recorrect it now. Right? The NSFT will keep asking me for questions and answers they want. Right? The NHS could have it their way and destroy me. Then it will progress with the Iron Swan song without me, as they say. Then everything will fall apart. Right? I get where people are coming from. Right? I get it from a very logical point of view. Family is coming back and family will stick together. We always come back together. There's a vital key in all of this, and you know it now. I don't need the BS. Right? Everybody knew from day one the Albion was the key, the answers, and everything in front of you. ECR is the actually EMH. Margaret in the middle, Zeno on the left, and then Hatt on the right. Me. So it's all in truth, it's all in logic, and it's in facts. But there's a lot of people that know a lot of scenarios. Don't get me wrong, but it has to play out with the Swan song instead of the Island Swan song. Because if you read that book, the Island Swan song, that will fucking make you tearful, upset, cry, because we never done what needed to be done. Right? In the day, I'm not going to be single all my life because it's not going to happen that way. Duck can't afford to keep coordinating with me and my mother. That will burn him out and that will be like history books. But I don't need that. I need it to be a lot more easy on him. He works 24/7 at Sodor Museum, right? In the restaurant, right? He works himself the hardest way possible, right? He can only look after one person because that's what his angel spec was uniquely designed for, like I am doing with Cena. Cena's my wife. I'm distant cousin, but she's family and all. But you can't bloody blow up the esteem. I said it's all there in black and white. You know, in the day, people are lucky to get what they need, but now you gotta wait for it to play out correctly. We're not gonna go nowhere. It's just the way it's playing out. It's very odd. I get it, but you have to wake up and smell the coffee on everything. But you just have to realize, shit, shit, shit. Of course, I am the landlord of the Albion, but I have to keep on the radar because I have to be secretively private. Why? Because I'm too legendary. When legendary people come forward, like Jason David Frank as example, right? His daughter is carrying on a legacy from him, right? Basically, Jenna Frank is a friend of the family and connection. So I'm not gonna bullshit. Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Ranger, connection and family friend, right? A lot of Power Rangers in who you know quite well have a lot of clues and answers for me, as well as everybody else. When people know things, it adds up. Right? When people know what needs to be done, we correct the bloody thing before it gets damaged. Right? In the day, it's hard. I get it. When I'm in the pub, I see everything unfold naturally. But because of the way the timing has come, my grandfather's death has impacted me for 20 years. Plus, I'm carrying Claire Devlin's death on my shoulders as well. So that makes like 2020 makes nearly like near enough, near 40, you know, 40, you know what I mean? It goes that way. But in the day, then you've got to add how I put this in layman terms for calculation direction. You see, when you got like, for example, you got 41, you got to add nearly about, you know what I mean? It's like a jigsaw puzzle, but anyway, I'm not going to go down that route. But the thing is, it's all real, it's all logic, and it's all facts, right? A lot of people want all of this in one day, and they're not going to get it all in one day. It really does help, but there's a lot of people that know the truth. But I care about my family and my wife. But you got to respect us for what we are. We're not going to go nowhere because we always be in a pub or work with the pub or go around the pub, do what needs to be done. But because I need Margaret right now, who's 88 years old, ding, 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 this is the last chance that my mother will ever see her own cousin, her own flesh and blood, if you would like to call it correctly. I said it's facts, it's logic, it's truth. Right? The Coopers never back off. They always kept fighting. Because they knew what needs to unfold. Everybody doesn't need to BS. It's all facts, it's all logic, and it's all truth. I'm not bullshitting with the bush. I'm not going to end it like this in a bad way because it's not going to happen in a bad way. If the Iron Swan song continued the way it does, then it would not be the way the Swan song that was written by the actual Wild Norester, who did it really well. He knew the path, he knew what was unfolding, he didn't have to say nothing. All we had to do is let it play out the same way. Why? Because it's truth, it's logic, and it's fact. I'm not going to be BSing with him because he was honest. He was honest, but he had to safeguard me and Zena and the rest of my fleet. So when it all adds up, bing, bada, boom, it goes back to the Albion, yes. Then I see my wife, my distant cousin, ding, ding. Then it goes back to all the fleet that's safeguarding her, right? The street, myself, and all that's part of it included, right? Then it all goes back to the staff. The staff get clues, but they're not thinking up here. I said, have you worked it out yet? And half of them will say no because they don't want to know, because it's our private lives, mine and Cena's. We don't want it in a position like this, but a lot of people are pushing me, pushing me, pushing me, not the other way round, right? That's why she's safeguarding me because I'm already been reserved for her. You know, we provided you everything on a plate, right? We've been disrespected, or shall I say myself to begin with, not her, because she's been safeguarded all her life. It's all actually gonna come out and say what? He knows, he knows, he knows. She will know that I know, but I can't always say it out in public. I feel like it's like a secret that was meant to unfold naturally, that was gonna unfold in front of you in some directional form. People have witnessed me and Zena dancing. That's fact. But the thing is that it's all on my private profile that you can't see. That's why I can only accept friends that I know or I met or I talking to. Why? Because when they look at my profile, it's all truth, it's all logic, and it's all facts. I cannot run away from the responsibilities I was given. Why? When you when you are kids, you are safeguarded by your family, your friends, and your connections, right? My family are everywhere. You can't mess around with that. That's definite. But when it all comes back to the Coopers, that's it. You know, StreamYard, YouTube, and Google knew about this, but it was for my own eyes only. Right? But then it all adds up. It points me in the right direction. So when you think of everything that's achieved, why it happened a long time ago, yes, but it still continued and continued and continued. And people keep forgetting. Stop forgetting, because the books will tell you in reverse and forward. Read between the lines. It does help a lot of people. And when you read between the lines, it gets people answers, clues, and everything. The Harry Potter is based on me anyway, and my family. But you see, a lot of people did not realise it then. Now I'm helping you, guide you, support you, and have her on the sidelines because I need her. She's my wife and my distant cousin. Cena is. She can't lie. I'm not lying to her. That's the fact. You know, I would not lie to a woman. You know, I may lie in the past because I had to safeguard children and young adults and teenagers and so forth. I said I have to safeguard them all until they are old enough to understand. It's like watching Power Rangers SPDs called Sam. Now, if you're very clever enough, I'm going to give you this one as one fact and one clue, one answer, right? Right? How many of you have watched Power Rangers SPD? There's a clue in this. This is why. One 10 years before I was born. So if you make 10 years later, so it'd be on the 10th of October, 1983, right? My grandfather on my mother's side of the family sent a special letter, very powerful letter, right? Right? Explaining to his sister that I was born. Rim bada boom. Why? Because it's the same thing I've done with Lily Cole. So work it out. Now what the message around this one. This is why. Why? Someone who was 10 years old at that time, my distant cousin and wife to be. Right? It all unfolds naturally. Right? You may think this is 1,000 years, but it isn't. There's a lot of catches to this and a lot of anagrams still rattling through your heads. Right? It all adds up, yes, but how did it get together in the first place? I said, a woman that was 10 years older than I was, so I was only just a baby. So work it out. My mother did not know what my grandfather was physically doing. He worked, like I said, there's clues everywhere that lead back to family, to reunite the family, to stoke up the magic in the mountain, and a lady will smile. Right? We all know the answers to all of this. Right? So happens. Margaret also got this memo as well at the same time. So that's cousin, it goes from my mother and her cousin. Why? I'm not going to lie on that. Why? Because that's truth. It's fact and it's logic. Why? I know I rabble on, but it's true. Then people start to pick up questions and pick up the answers. Right? So I have a 10-year-old distant cousin watching over me from the day I was born. And don't tell me I'm a liar on that because I won't. So when I was 10 years old, she was 20. Why? Because we're 10 years apart. Distant cousins have reunited to get married to fix the timeline, which is what originally states as why the swan song instead of the island swan song. Why? Because it's going to happen in the future, not right now. You will have Richard and you will have Emily Helen Hatt, but you've got to be very patient. I have gone to arm's length to get this timeline corrected. One thing takes it one day at a time. I'm not rushing it. I'm not kicking off. I'm just a little bit what you would call, in some aspects, a lot of you are surprised. A lot of you are like saying, "What shit?" You see, it happened once, it's happened twice, and now you've got the same bloody pattern. And people are saying, "Why did Jason David Frank die?" Think about backwards, ding ding, or reverse it as the words. But now Jenna Frank is now living to her father's legacy because she is the new Green Ranger. Even the White Ranger and the Black Dino Thunder Ranger. The legendaries are coming back to full glory, yes, but it all adds up. You see, with Amy Jo Johnson living her life to the full, she doesn't have to be turned as a Pink Ranger, but she's the best friend of her family and connection. So when I got David Josh, another connection of mine, the City Billy is what you call him, right? We all take this for jokes, but it's not a joke after all. It's just a private connection. Right? We all knew that the day that you said, "I am Sodor," yes, I was. But someone was safeguarding me all the time. When you want your family, don't tell don't tell them they haven't been watching over this over the time period. When I turned 30 and Cena turned 40, things start to add up. Things come to puzzle wise, clues, the answers, everything came together. Slowly, slowly catch a monkey is what Duck would say. But Duck couldn't support me and my mother on our own. So then, things had to be recollected again to do the necessary. It's not an easy task, don't get me wrong, but when you got a lot of people, or when you got four people still in place, it's my mother, my wife, let's say my mother, my wife, and me and Duck. There's four of us. We are back. Yes, the Steam team is back. But then now you've got to get realistic. Then we've got our extinctions. Then everybody will ask the biggest question of all time that I could throw at you. Right? Who is Adam Taylor? A friend of the family. But he's not born yet because Emily Helen Hatt is not in the picture yet. Nor is Richard. But it will all come together slowly. Just got to be a little bit more patient. So all the Albion, wake up. Because all my connections are monitoring the time stream as much as I am. But I'm not running for the hills. I'm taking it slowly in my stride. We're not running like rushing it like hell. Of course I am a little bit, socceroo and all that. But when I was sending my letters to Lily with my grandfather, Cena was reading them as well, as much as Margaret. So it runs with the chain of the family. So we keep the chain going, yes, but stop being saying like, "Oh, you don't know jack shit." I said clues were lying everywhere for me. There was no doubt about it. The timing was right, everything was right. Now you got to be a bit patient now. Because me and Cena are trying to work hard from different angles. It's not a game, it's not a rush, it's just that the Iron Swan song is turning into a swan song. And that's no lie, it's just the truth, it's now fixing itself. The timeline, it's fixing itself. But it's just taking me and Zena a little bit more time because we haven't seen each other for 10 years apart from each other. But when she knew who I was, then she knew that the clues, the answers, the facts were all coming to her slowly. But in the day when my great auntie Lily's dead and my grandfather's dead, then you got Margaret who's 88, and then you got my mother who's 66. It makes damn sense, don't it? Then you add me and her at the bottom of the chain. Connection time, as they say. It's not morphin time as such, but it's a fact. You know, it's realistic. So when I say I am watching, I've got eyes and ears everywhere. And a lot of people need to understand this is not a joke or a laughing matter. It's gonna now put me and Xena into what you call now in a safeguard direction because we need it. Because we don't have a normal life. We don't have the necessary actions to pull it off correctly right now. Why? Because we don't know why people do this out of kindness and respect and honesty and everything that the man has to give a woman and the woman has to give it back to me as well, obviously. It all adds up. You know, when you got something you need, we can't break it because we can't. It's against the code, the railway code that we were given. When people realize that when you really understand everything, you got to be realistic. Why? Why it has to be done now again? Then, but people that weren't informed at the time was my mother and Zena because they had to do it separately. So when the Margaret and my and that were cousins, obviously, it all adds up. You know, when my mother and Zena had to go through this, they didn't have no knowledge, no whatsoever of this information until Zena started to have letters from my grandfather, myself, and it all adds up. So eventually, you're meddling with something that's realistic from day one. I know it's a funny way of it showing directly in your eyeballs, then you're seeing shit. Like I said, me and Zine are safeguarding each other plus our protection, our private connections, family, friends, connections, and so forth. They all connections. But at the same time, we can't lie to the past. We can't lie to the future. You have to realise why. The Island Swan Song has been stopped to Swan Song now, which is what it is based upon. Right? But it won't happen now. It will happen later in the future because Emily Helen Hatt will be the last one to see me alive. So grow up. It's there in black and white. You just have to let it play out a bit here. I know all the sequences, all the answers that you all want to know. Right? All the facts are there. All the truth is there. But in the day, don't screw it up because you'll end up with something more terrible. And I'm trying to, we, all of us in my family, we're trying to prevent it because it's the right thing to do. But in the day, you can't lie about the past and you can't lie about your own destiny and future because it's already set in stone already. It can't be altered. You know, in the day when your life has been put in front of you, if Lily told Scene a long time ago when she was 10 years of age, that's it. Why? Lily must have told Cena when she was a young girl at 10 years of age, before when I was born, obviously. Bang! It all led to this moment. It's all correct. Susan, Billy, and Izzy, and the others starting to wake up and smell the coffee. Right? They will eventually add up. It will all add up, and then everything will suit. We'll put it all together. Right? People know about it. I'm not bullshitting it. People understand it. Facts are all put into it, and everything else that if you got, like I said, StreamYard, Google, and YouTube all knew about it, but they can't put the right details on the internet because we have to be safeguarded. We're not a cuckoo butts or anything. Mattel had the same problem, so they had to switch it with my granddaughter's name underneath. So there's me in the smack in the middle with Xena. Don't get me wrong, and these could be Matthew and Xena Ding Ding. Right? Then it goes down to my granddaughter, Emily Helen Hatt. It all adds up, but they nailed it to Mattel to make sure it's Matthew and Xena. And Lily is the last one on the list, but reverse it. Then it all adds up. It's all facts, it's all logic, and it's all truth. I will never lie to a woman, and I will never will be. I'll be truly honest with her, honest, respectful, and you know what I mean. Being honest, truthful, and straightforward. I will not give out no more bullshit because my body is trained to do these things at the right time and at the right place. I said the past will catch up with you, but at the same time, the magic is coming through. Right? A lot of this is all happening all in truth, but the way it's all playing out, yes, I know it's difficult for people to understand what's unfolded. But I'm not going to be talking about this every day because it's all happening so quickly. But for you, but it's not. It's slowing down a lot. So I may be giving you the facts and the truth and all that. The Island Swan song is now called the Swan song because it's been converted to Wild Northwestern's timeline. But you have to put that timeline on top of Thomas the Tank Series 1 to 24 again to get the result. So when you think of all of that, it all adds up, but then all the answers are all there too. So in the day when you got all of the answers in your head and you know the facts, the logic and the truth, you can't argue with the truth. You can't argue with it because even the cops will know that's fact. You know what I mean? It's like saying to the cops, here's your facts, here's your proof, here's your knowledge. The copyrights to all the TV movies and all of that are normally embedded with all of our DNA. We've been trying to keep you all happy so you don't have to worry about a thing. But all you have to do is sit back. You know, a lot of people assume this is all like, what the hell? Well, like I said, well, like when friends said, my private connection, Caitlin, and her daughter said, you're famous. So what does it tell you? I mean, Harry Potter, in everything. It's playing out again, but it's actually in the modern day era to a point. At the moment, I haven't got the other half of the storyline connected yet. So you're missing a half, but it's online, yes, but it tells you the truth in all plain eyesight in realistic form. But at this time, at this moment, Duck is safeguarding my mother while I got my wife, Cena Morgan, from the Albion, in black and white. Thank you very much in every angle.